Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. Again, this is not the time to unsubscribe. It's the time to subscribe and share with friends because there's so much uncertainty over the course of the next 68 days before the inauguration. And I want to begin today's segment by talking about yesterday, where Trump announced some of the cabinet picks that he intends for his administration. Show that. So, for example, obviously we know Chief of Staff will be Susie Wiles, but the interesting ones that are new is the White House National Security Advisor is going to be from Florida, Representative Mike Waltz. We have Lee Zeldin with the EPA, Stephen Miller, and this one I find just so odd. White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. I mean, this to me is just wild. On top of that, we know about Tom Homan, the border czar, Elise Stefanik, not a bad pick, by the way, UN ambassador, Marco Rubio. This is one that you've heard me turn around and say there's no way he was going to bring him in on the cabinet. We'll discuss that coming up very, very soon. And DHS secretary is going to be Kristi Noem. I mean, talk about an interesting first set of picks. And I want to go through a few of these, right, and show you some clips of these people because much of what you're hearing today is very, very different than things that we have heard from them in the past. So let's start with Florida Representative Mike Waltz, who will serve as the White House National Security Advisor. And I want to show you a clip from 2017 where he spoke about the Afghanistan war being multi-generational. Play that clip.
He said, until you're prepared to commit your grandchildren, not your children, but your grandchildren to stand shoulder to shoulder with my grandchildren and fight Islamic extremism, then you will never be successful here. So are we 15 years in? Yes. Are we in for a lot more fighting, and do we need a long-term strategy to undermine the ideology of Islamic extremism, just like we did fascism and just like we did communism? Yes, we do. And Gordon, I think we're in for a long haul, and I think our nation's leadership needs to begin telling the American people, I'm sorry, we don't have a choice. We are 15 years into what is going to be a multi-generational war because we're talking about defeating an idea. It's easy to bomb a tank, very difficult to defeat an idea, and that's exactly what we have to do.
Yeah. Again, what do we know? We know that Donald Trump made the determination to get the hell out of Afghanistan. In fact, he bound the Biden administration into an extrication date. You may remember that semi-debacle over there. Not in terms of getting the people out, just the method and the manner to which it was done. Now, I want to turn around and say this. I understand Mike Waltz's beliefs. Mike Waltz is a dedicated and a decorated former Green Beret. So this is not a guy who doesn't have military experience. And he's not wrong about trying to destroy an ideology. You may destroy the body, but unless you destroy the ideology, the theocracy behind it, this extremism, this Islamic extremism will always exist. I just find it odd that a guy who's going to become the national security advisor is somebody whose position was fundamentally opposite. I mean, it's just an exact opposite of what Trump's was in 2017. Which, by the way, gives me some pause here in a good way, in the fact that maybe Donald is expanding on some of the things that he said that he intends in terms of loyalists, because certainly Mike Waltz and Donald Trump are not aligned on at least that idea, even though it's already over. So next, I want to take a quick look at Lee Zeldin, congressmember from here in New York, who is the new EPA Administrator. And here's a clip of him discussing what he will do with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. Play that clip.
One of the things that's been a big focus of the Trump campaign is to get through the bureaucracy that exists in Washington and to deregulate. The EPA has been in some ways an enemy to a lot of these businesses across America because they've had a long arm. Now, post-Chevron decision from SCOTUS, you see a different environment in terms of how much a regulatory agency can get away with. What are you planning to do at EPA?
One of the biggest issues for so many Americans was the economy, and the president was talking about unleashing economic prosperity. Through the EPA, we have the ability to pursue energy dominance, to be able to make the United States the artificial intelligence capital of the world, to bring back American jobs to the auto industry, and so much more. President Trump cares about conserving the environment. As you just mentioned in that statement from him, his desire to ensure clean access to clean air, clean water, it was a top priority. So I'm excited to get into work to implement President Trump's economic agenda, and I think the American people are so hungry for it. It's one of the big reasons why they're sending him back to the White House.
So what did...
Okay. Let's go back to the question that was asked. What do you intend to do as the new head of the EPA? Instead, he goes right to talking about Trump's economic agenda, which, by the way, I don't think that any of us don't somewhat agree with that agenda. I absolutely want to see America as energy independent. Oh, wait, hold on. We are. In fact, not only are we energy independent for the first time, we're actually exporting our remainder. Could we do more? Sure. So when he says drill, baby, drill, and so on, okay, drill, baby, drill. That just means more for export. But right now, the United States is fully energy independent. So again, how about answer the very simple question, what do you intend to do? Are you going to dismantle the EPA? And if you do that, how do you force businesses, who of course are only profit motivated, from going ahead and not destroying our clean air and our clean water? Don't you think that our children have a right to be able to breathe without masks, to be able to drink water without paying $5 a bottle for it? Really, Lee? Come on. Nobody needs you as the economic advisor because there's already one that's that. Howard Lutnick is looking for that position. All right. I also now want to turn to Marco Rubio. This is one that I was dead ass wrong on. On this program, maybe a few days ago, I talked about, I never thought I would have bet the house on this, that Marco Rubio would never end up in the administration because of the manner to which that the two of them have sparred back and forth going back to 2015, 2016. Marco Rubio has never been in Donald Trump's camp. In fact, remember when we put Marco Rubio in a pool with a whole bunch of naked guys talking about a cocaine binge party on the front page of the National Enquirer. Remember that? I never in my wildest imagination thought Marco Rubio would be part of the administration, but he appointed him as Secretary of State. And here's an ad. I want to show it to you. The ad that the Trump campaign ran against Marco Rubio in 2016. Play that clip.
Corrupt Marco Rubio has spent years defrauding the people of Florida. As a legislator, he flipped on a key vote after making a quick $200,000 from selling his house to the mother of the bill's lobbyist. He used the Republican Party's credit card to pave his driveway and live it up in Las Vegas. When he got caught, he said he had used the wrong credit card. But he had used the same Republican Party card for 6 flights between Miami and Tallahassee, then billed the state for the same airline tickets and pocketed the cash until, once again, he got caught. On top of it all, Rubio's been a total no-show in the U.S. Senate, with the worst voting record of all. Marco Rubio, another corrupt, all-talk, no-action politician.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
And I'm not Donald Trump, and I certainly wouldn't have him as Secretary of State. Not certainly off of that clip. But then here he is talking about the Russia-Ukraine war. Play that clip. He's
But now, really, our focus should be on doing everything we can to help Ukraine defeat Russia, whether it's a strategic defeat or an operational one. Putin needs to take an L here, and I believe he will. Certainly on the strategic front, he's going to take an L. And I think he might even take it on operationally, and it could ultimately lead to his downfall.
Yeah. Sound a little bit sketchy, especially considering some of the things that Donald Trump has said. How is he going to be Secretary of State under those sort of, if he's going to follow that ideology, this is going to be a very short-lived Secretary of State, almost shorter than Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. Now, I want to show you then another clip of him critiquing the January 6th riots.
We had police officers, the men and women that we walk by every single day that guard the doors and we say hello to, out there with riot gear getting spit on and attacked. Today, not 10 weeks ago, just a few hours ago. And I think it's important to think about all those things on a night like tonight and everything that's happened. You know, I wouldn't even be here today. I doubt very much where I would even have been interested in politics had it not been for my grandfather. He died when I was 14, but I grew up at his knee. He would sit on the porch, he would smoke 3 cigars a day, and he loved history. He was born in 1899 in rural Cuba. It was still governed by the United States. It was a protectorate. 3 years later, it gained its independence and became a republic. During my grandfather's first 60 years of life, he saw his country have an armed insurrection after a contested election, multiple presidents go into exile, 2 military coups, and the rise of a Marxist dictator. A tyranny that stands to this day. My entire life, I have lived with and next to people who came to America because their country was chaotic and their country was unsafe. What I saw today, what we have seen, looks more like those countries than the extraordinary nation that I am privileged to call home.
And so I bring up the same point. I do believe that this will be a very short relationship between the two. So lastly, I want to talk about puppy killer Kristi Noem, who will, this is another one that I never would have picked, Department of Homeland Security Secretary. I mean, here's a clip of her talking about Texas and the Constitution. And an important fact is that Texas was not one of the original 13 colonies when the Constitution was even signed. Play the clip.
Texas and those 13 original colonies would have never signed the treaty that formed the first Constitution of the United States if they didn't think that their right to protect themselves and defend their own people was protected. So what Joe Biden is doing is...
Yeah, history. It's one of those things that it's predicated on fact, easily checked too. Let me say this to you, my friends. Again, this is not a time to unsubscribe. We have a lot to go through. And on this program, on the Michael Cohen Show, this is not going to be an anti-presidency. No. For the stuff that's good, I will call it out. I'd be the first one to say, I hope that Trump is successful in his presidency because it benefits all of us. It benefits the entire country. Not just those select few, the MAGAs, but for all Americans. And that is my hope. But as things go wrong, as I suspect that there will be, because during every presidency, things go wrong. But this one, again, especially based upon some of these cabinet picks, I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. And at this program, nothing but the truth. And thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.